Well, welcome back to the Hotel Orloff here in scenic rural Retreat, Virginia, where we're having a major winter storm. So we're just hanging out today, organizing things, and here's Drew the dog. And let's see what we can find today that we can organize. So let's step into the monster corner. So, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday storm started coming through, and I don't know, the sun is just coming up. It's about maybe 7:30 here in Rural Retreat. I'm going to go outside and see what it looks like out there, man. Because there's no telling will there be 10, 12 inches of snow? We don't know. But we'll find out, won't we, ladies and gentlemen? So, yes, indeed. Oh, someone just commented on yesterday's video. It said good stuff. It just popped up on the top of my phone. I don't know. I lost 2 subscribers since yesterday's video, so it couldn't have been that great. People claim they like it, but I don't know. I don't know how yesterday's video could have offended anyone, but apparently it did. Or maybe they were watching old videos where I said that I support Donald Trump, and that may have caused someone to get upset and unsubscribe. Anyway, it's been snowing all night. Let's see what it looks like outside. Oh my gosh. Whoa! Yes, indeed. That's some pretty deep snow. And some pretty strong wind, too. It's the snow kind of hits your eyes and stings. Well, isn't that wonderful? We'll monitor the snow progress here. Can you see anything through this dirty window? It's dirty on the outside. I need a pole to clean the outside of this window, I suppose is what I need. Well, it's January the 9th, 2023, more than likely. That's what I'm guessing. It's cold out here on the porch of the Hotel Orloff here in Rural Retreat, Virginia. It's 30 degrees outside, but it feels colder because we're going to get like winds that may go up to 40 miles an hour today. Can you believe that? Unbelievable. Well, yesterday I discovered I had some need of, when I was going through that box, I found some Marvel magazines that need to go into Marvel boxes. And, you know, what may cause people to unsubscribe is when I don't show comic books. I'm bringing boxes in here, out here to the porch to look through, because I want to enjoy the snow. And anyway, let's see. Maybe I should put you up higher so you can see the snow outside, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't that be peachy? I'm on you. Okay, there we go. Anyway, let's, do we need more light? Or probably okay for right now. This box is labeled Marvel Black and White Magazines, so those of you that were upset that I was looking at catalogs and things that weren't comic book related yesterday, well, good riddance. Yeah, I was up to 659, almost up to 666 viewers, but then I lost 2, so I'm now at 657. But, oh well, what have we got in here? Okay. I gotta take some of these out. There's too many magazines now. Okay. Why is that in there? Makes no sense. Oh, this is my childhood copy of Crazy #1. I've got the other, I got a better copy later that, you know, this one has been through my childhood. I got another one later on, and that must be with my other Crazy. I don't know why this one's out, not with that. So that's part of the organization I've got to do here. Crazy. Mad was the original humor magazine in the early 50s from EC Comics. And then, you know, there was a Crazy imitation that might have been put out by Atlas. I don't know who put it out. There were tons of, someone else commented, make a video with all rockabilly stuff, says Ivan Drago. Yeah, I could do a rockabilly video. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's good. We're starting to have viewers that are more diverse, more inclusive, more, what's the other word they like to use? Diverse, inclusive, and representative. I don't know. So I don't just want people that only into, if you're only into comic books, if that's all you're into, then you're not a very interesting person. You got to be into music and monsters and movies and you've got to have. Man does not live by just comic books alone, and neither do women. Anyway, I can see evidence of me tracing this. I traced this cover, and I had paper on top of it drawing. I mean, this was Loved magazine. Anyway, in the early 70s, this was about 73. Let me see exactly when it came out. October 73, the beginning of 3rd grade, this magazine comes along. And I loved Mad, and I loved Cracked, and I was just in a supermarket yesterday getting ready for this snowstorm, and I was thinking, when I was a kid, when I went into a supermarket, the first place I'd go is the newsstand to see if there's a new issue of Cracked or Mad. I loved both of them. Of course, Mad was better, but Cracked, you know, had that John Severin art, and you just always couldn't wait to see it. Oh, look at that blowing wind out there. Anyway, this is a shame that Crack doesn't exist anymore, and Mad only exists as a shadow of its former self in reprint form. Anyway, Marvel put out this Crazy magazine in October of 73, so that really would have been, man, that really would have been August of 73 this came out, like the very beginning of my 3rd grade year, because they're always dated 2 months later. So it's obviously, they're establishing their intent that they're going to blow up this little character, is their version of Alfred E. Newman. You know, Cracked had Sylvester P. Smith, and Mad had Alfred E. Newman, and Sick had, Huckleberry Fink, or at least in the later days, that was their mascot, and this is just called the Nebbish, which I think is a Yiddish word that just means someone that's nothing. But it's wonderful Kelly Frias art. Kelly Frias, the great science fiction artist, did tons of paperback covers. So, and Kelly Frias did a lot of the Mad magazine covers in the early 60s or late 50s. Anyway, he's blowing up sick, mad, cracked, but I'll notice also the National Lampoon. Now, National Lampoon came along in 1970, and it was a more adult version of Mad. I mean, it was, National Lampoon was great. There, for, I don't know, probably over 100 years, there's been a magazine at Harvard called the Harvard Lampoon. And so these guys that were Ivy League guys said, let's make a national version of National Lampoon. And it was wonderful, at least until maybe about 1980, the first 10 years of National Lampoon. It was great. It was a far more evil and subversive magazine than Mad. And the parodies were spot on. If they did a parody of comic books or a parody of another magazine or whatever, they did a parody of a James Bond poster, they'd make it look exact. And National Lampoon was great, and there was a great National Lampoon movie, Animal House, that was made by the writers from National Lampoon, and none of the other National Lampoon. I mean, there was a Vacation was based on a story that had appeared in National Lampoon, and they kind of neutered it in the movie. And in the original story, it was in the 50s, and they were going to Disneyland instead of Wally World. And at the end, as I recall, in the Chevy Chase movie, the Chevy Chase goes nuts, and I think pulls a gun on the guy that founded the park, Wally or whatever. I think it was John Cleese, and then they are all riding a roller coaster at the end. In the comic book, I mean, in National Lampoon, he actually shoots Disney, as I recall, at the end of the story. So it's, they had to change that a little bit from the movie. Anyway, National Lampoon was great for 10 years, but they did a kind of weird thing with this magazine. They're trying to not just mimic Mad, but they have elements to the National Lampoon in this. So they've got Vaughn Baudet, underground artist, doing the back cover, and already it's. Then of course Marie Severin, one of my favorite artists, does a parody of a Virginia Slims ad, and Marv Wolfman was the editor. Roy Thomas was the executive editor. Who else do we see? They have Harlan Ellison in this. Gene Shepard does something in this. Gene Shepard is the guy that normal people know for A Christmas Story. They did a kind of knockoff of National Lampoon's photo comics, and but it's, man, I forgot about this. They have remember the show Kung Fu with David Carradine? Well, this is a parody, but they got Mike Ploog doing the art. And of course, Mike Ploog, how wonderful he is from the Man Thing comic and Werewolf by Night. I remember this fight scene. Here's Harlan Ellison little essay with Basil Wolverton art. I mean, they were getting stellar talent. Now, Crazy was good for about 10, 11 issues. But unfortunately it went on and on all through the 70s, and it got really bad, almost to the levels of Sick, which was the lowest of them. Look at this. This is a newspaper from after a nuclear war, when everybody's mutated and half animals. It says they're Daily Survivor, New York's only newspaper. It's really brilliant, and the art. Yeah, they have writers, a whole bunch of writers for this. Tony Isabella, Carla Joseph, Gary Conway, or is it pronounced Jerry Conway? It starts with a G. Steve Skeets, and the artwork's fantastic. I mean, it's tiny print, which was a lot easier to read when I was in 3rd grade. There's Mandrake. It's just I remember at one point they did a parody of the TV Guide that was really great. They did a parody of Casper that was a Secret Origin issue that showed how Casper had died, and it was horribly disturbing. Done by artwork by Maurice Severin. Look at Tarzan there in this post-apocalyptic world. I remember this. Look at that. Dennis the Mutant Menace. And Mr. Wilson saying, "Martha, that Mitchell boy is in my flowers again." And he's like half ant eater or whatever. Oh, and they have the comic strip page too. It's just really well done. This first issue of Crazy, I don't know that people care about it. Probably not. But, you know. Oh, and there's a parody of the Poseidon Adventure also. Which Mad and Cracked had already done parodies of. And the art here is by, who is this art by? Ross Andrew and Vic Martin. Not quite. Oh, and all through the, they had this history of moose kind going back to the Stone Age rather, and all through the this magazine, at least the first maybe 12 issues, they have all about the history of the moose and history. All right. My sound effects ended. I had sound effects of a snowstorm going, and they ended. Is the Wi-Fi connection off? What's the matter? Yes, it's the Wi-Fi. I hope the Wi-Fi isn't down. Oh, man.
GMC Sierra. It's the truck. Or get 6,000 purchase allowance when you trade.
Anyway. Who cares? Yeah, Crazy is good. For a little bit. The later issues, not so much. Okay, wonderful. Okay. I hear people say, "I don't want magazines, I only want comic books," because they, I don't know, maybe CGC doesn't grade magazines, do they? I have no idea. Or they just say, "I don't want to go down that rabbit hole and collect magazines." Well, to me, when I was a kid, I loved comics, but the magazines were just as exciting, if not more so, because they were beautiful. I mean, look at this. Now, there was a Tomb of Dracula Marvel comic book. This is the Dracula Lives magazine. Look at this painting. From Boris Vallejo. So that's Dracula Lives #1. I think I have all of them. Let's see. I'm having trouble finding some of my Planet of the Apes magazines. I bought every one of them. I found issue 1 and then issue 9 up, so some are in some box somewhere. That's the thing about moving. Now, the All-Star 58 that I keep complaining about that disappeared before the move. But, you know, sometimes when you move, man, you just don't know where things are. It's just something. Okay, so this is Dracula Lives #2. It looks like I got this for, well, it's marked $10, but, you know, I probably got it for $5. I don't remember. I think that sticker means half off. I don't know. Duncanville Books in Duncanville, Texas. I used to be. Man, I miss that store. But There's always Gotham City Comics in Mesa, Arizona, where actually it went down to like freezing last night. He was telling me, Kevin Johnson, the owner and proprietor of Gotham City Comics. It's on the other side of the country from me, but to me it's my local comic store because whenever new comics come out or old comics, that's who I go to. Oh, there's a guy out there shoveling snow. How about that? They do that pretty quickly here. What am I doing? I'm going to take this tape off. I'm like trying to get it out with the tape on, which is a moronic thing to do. You always take the tape off and put new tape on. Yeesh. This, I see why it was $5. Yeah, once you get it out of the bag, you realize it's not in too good a shape. Back cover, you can kind of see problems. Yeah, down there and stuff. But I didn't have issue 2, so now I do. These Marvel magazines, Marvel was trying to encroach on Warren's territory. Warren had creepy, eerie Vampirella, and so Marvel thought they'd do the same thing. This is the cool thing about this. Oh, some point, this is from 1973. Someone once sold it for $3. I see there, some used bookstore. They would use red ink occasionally in here. I guess red for blood. And it's here's the origin of Dracula. You know, you read the Tomb of Dracula comic book, which is where the Blade character came from. And it takes place in present day, you know, 1972, 73, 74. But here you've got the origin of Dracula from like the 1400s. And you got a story by Marv Wolfman and art by Neil Adams, which means he's doing the pencils and inks. It's so great, fantastic stuff. Neil Adams. But some of you just don't like this because it's a magazine. I just can't take it. I don't even read comic. Actually, those people don't even read. They just slab things. Anyway, there's some red ink there, right when someone's getting killed. But not about that. Oh, some more red. Look at that. Every few pages, they'll let a little bit of red come through. And then here's a 1950s pre-code horror reprint with Joe Sinnott art. Someone on YouTube was pronouncing it Sinnott. I don't know. To me, it's Sinnott. How am I supposed to know? I never hear people say these names until YouTube came along. I never heard these names pronounced. I've just read them in magazines for decades. Here, back issues. They had another magazine, Monster Madness. Yes, indeed. And then you have a story, you know, like a famous monsters kind of text story with photos. They would always do that. They'd mix them together. Sold Barnabas Collins. And you have The Terror That Stalked Castle Dracula, Steve Gerber plot, Tony Isabella script, Jim Starlin layout, Sid Shore's art. It's another Haunt of Horror was a digest-sized attempt to bring back the pulp by Marvel. It went a couple of issues, and then they brought back Haunt of Horror as a magazine-sized comic magazine. There was another one called Vampire Tales. Yeah, they flooded the market with these black and white magazines trying to knock out creepy and eerie. Here's another pre-code horror from the 50s, a story by Stan Lee, art by Fred Kita. I don't know who that is. So anyway, pre-code horror. So it looks like they had the original art still around in at Marvel for these 50 stories. Which at that point were only 20 years old, so yeah, they'd probably still be in the filing cabinets. Here's Roy Thomas, art by Gene Colan and Dick Giordano, so it's the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. Maybe it's about, I don't remember if this, yeah. Oh yeah, it's a Dracula story. Yeah, oh, and then the other one they had was Monsters Unleashed. And they had tons of these monster magazines. This little old man was a murderer and cannibal. And here's some more of that red ink that they threw in. This was not indicative of these Marvel magazines. This is maybe the only issue I've seen that red ink gimmick on. You know, when they did the Kiss color comic magazine, and they made a big deal, they had the band go to some blood bank, or they did it, I think, publicly. They poured like little tiny vials of the blood of the Kiss band members into the red ink that was going to print the Kiss comic book magazine. And so when you got the magazine, you know, do you have like tiny microscopic molecules of Gene Simmons' blood? What I would have done, I would have printed the Kiss magazine in black and white, and then occasionally have little red areas, so you'd know exactly where. Better chance that you'd actually have Kiss's actual blood in their DNA in your magazine. This must be issue 3, and it clearly is a Neal Adams cover. You can immediately spot that. There's no tape on this one, so how about that? Still, the snow comes down pretty hard. Keep on coming, snow, man. There's no work today, and who knows whether there'll be work tomorrow. This one's in better shape, this issue. See this record? You can listen to it on YouTube. It's from what's the name of the company? The Gale House, Gayle. Just type in Gale House haunting record, or you know, you can get you know, if you're creative on YouTube, you can listen to a lot of records from your childhood and records that you wanted from your childhood and you never got. People have posted them on YouTube. That's one of the great things about YouTube. There's a lot of bad things about YouTube, but that's one of the great things. Anyway, I don't know. You're into comic books, but you don't like these magazines, which are clearly comic books. I don't understand you, but it's to each their own. I don't want to encourage too many people to be in these, because I don't have be into these because I don't have that. I don't have them all. So why would I want to encourage other people to do that? Oh my gosh. This is a pre-code horror here, and it says here, the story of Macbeth, written by the great William Shakespeare, has long been a favorite of the Marvel bullpen. So when we spotted this 50s classic, a switch on the play, we couldn't resist reprinting it. Hope you enjoy it. The art is by a guy named C.A. Winter. I see his name there. Anyway, well, so they have highbrow stuff in here. They're still selling that 7-foot Frankenstein poster. Yeah. Kind of looks like he has a bullet hole in his forehead. These are ads for the color comics. Strange Tales with Brother Voodoo, and Marvel Spotlight had the Son of Satan. It was really, at that time, there was another black and white Marvel magazine, Tales of the Zombie. I mean, they put out tons of the magazines all at once to flood the market. And then you've got these text stories where it looks kind of like Famous Monsters. And Marvel put out their own Famous Monsters type magazine called Monsters of the Movies. Here's Neal Adams art. I think this stuff has been reprinted in various forms, but there's maybe this isn't. Is this Neil Adams? Let me double check. I think I might be wrong. I'm steering you wrong. No, it is not. Oh, yes, it is. It probably. Alan Weiss and the Krusty Bunkers art. Krusty Bunkers is the name that Neil Adams used when he got pissed off and didn't want his name on the art. So there was something about this art he didn't like, I assume. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Krusty Bunkers, yeah, isn't that correct, ladies and gentlemen? Harlan Ellison did the same thing. He had another name. Was it Cordwainer Smith? Something. It's like if he wrote a script for a TV show and then they altered it and changed it beyond what he wanted it to be, then he would use a pseudonym. He was upset. Now, he was upset with Sitting on the Edge of Forever, one of the most famous Star Trek episodes that he wrote, where Kirk, Spock, and McCoy go back in time to Depression-era Earth, and Kirk falls in love with Joan Collins, who's this kind of works in a soup kitchen feeding people, but she's a real pacifist, and she doesn't want the United States to go to war, which was clearly about to happen because Hitler was building up over in Europe. And anyway, ooh, look at this wind, man. Ooh, wow, it's really kicking up. You see that? I don't know what you can see. It's blowing real hard. Anyway, I don't want to ruin the story, but basically Kirk falls in love with Joan Collins, but it becomes evident, Spock determines that this woman, if she lives, she's supposed to not live, and if you change time by saving her life, she's gonna become a big figure on the American scene in politics or whatever, and she's going to cause America to not go to war with Hitler, and then everything's going to change, and there won't be any USS Enterprise or space travel because the Nazis will win World War II and all that, or take over the US. So it's like this girl has to die. And anyway, that was the Harlan Ellison story, but they changed a lot of the certain segments of the script, and Harlan Ellison hated that, but he didn't take his name off of it, and it won all these awards, and it's considered one of the most best loved, remembered episodes of Star Trek, along with the Tribbles. There was a guy on the street in City on the Edge of Forever that picks up a phaser. It's like, what is this? And he presses a button, and he shoots himself, and he disappears. He just gets evaporated by the phaser. I think he was more of a character where they went into, he was a guy that had been in World War I. Anyway, they cut that stuff out, and Harlan Ellison didn't like it. Anyway, this is a Solomon Kane story, by the way. It's a Robert E. Howard story. So, more text about Bela Lugosi's Dracula. Just a whole magazine devoted to Dracula. And this is in the Nixon age, Bronze Age. I'm starting to call, I'm being rebellious against the comic book community, which is maybe why they hate me and they keep unsubscribing. But I'm trying to, this is late Nixon age. This is when I was starting to really get into comics. See, they're advertising color comics here, like the Doc Savage comic and the Tales of the Zombie. That's the black and white magazine. More pre-code horror. You can instantly spot the pre-code horror if you've got an eye for such a thing. I mean, it's wonderful art. It's just, very different from 1970s art. And it's called Vampire Man. I don't think that was the original title of the story. Because that vampire, that font is the same font they use on Vampire Tales, another one of the Marvel magazines. Here's the Dracula Lives letter column. And here's a Dracula story at the front. Oh my gosh, this is just fun stuff. And the art is by John Buscema and Sid Shores. Oh my gosh. It's like something you'd see on the streets of New York. A naked vampire running around. Anyway, so this is issue number 3. From when? October 73. This is the same month as that issue of Crazy that I showed you, isn't it? So this would have really been out in August of 73, the beginning of my 3rd grade year. I remember that first issue of Dracula Lives appeared at the end of the middle of my 2nd grade year, because I remember, it's easy for me to remember because we moved so often. So I remember seeing this cover on the newsstands when we were living in Hampton, Virginia. And then in the summer of 73, we moved to San Antonio. So I remember, because you have situational awareness, is that what you call it? You just remember based on, here comes a guy with a plow cleaning the streets. Okay, whatever, dude. Whatever. How long did Dracula Lives go? Do I have the complete set? I don't know. Okay, here's issue 4. Issue 4 of Dracula Lives. All of these I bought later. My first copy of Dracula Lives I bought when I was a kid is number 5. That's the one coming up. This is number 4. You can instantly tell that's an Earl Norham cover. Earl Norham did a lot of Men's Adventure magazine painted covers where guys are fighting the German soldiers or attacking turtles or whatever. And they were always covers like that. Yeah. So, Dracula story at the back here. I've had this habit. I don't know if I was Japanese in a past life, but I always flipped through magazines from the back. I've done it even when this magazine was new. Back 50 whatever years ago, I would always open a magazine from the back. And that's, of course, how in Japan, this is the front. And they read backwards. Well, it's not backwards to them, but to us it is. And why have I always done that? I don't know. The world may never know. This artwork's good. It's Vicente Alcazar. Vicente Alcazar. So I would assume that he was Spanish. Probably from Spain or... Yeah, you don't know. He could be from the Philippines, because in the Philippines they have Spanish names. It'll fools you. Here's a 2-page spread where they're selling you Vampire Tales. Satana, the Devil's Daughter, was in, yeah. That was, this is all stuff in Vampire Tales. They'd have Morbius. Monsters Unleashed would have Frankenstein stories set in modern day. And, and then they had the Warrior of Mars, Gulliver, who had been in, they started him in a color comic, and then they were doing Adventures of Gulliver of Mars here. Gulliver of Mars actually predates John Carter, Warlord of Mars. John Carter, The Princess of Mars, the first John Carter story, was originally published in 1912 in, was it All Story, a pulp, an early pulp. And it was serialized in like 12 parts. And then it was later put all together as a book and put out in hardcover as The Princess of Mars in 1917. Because originally when it was serialized in I think it was All Story magazine. It was called Under the Moons of Mars, because Mars has 2 moons. But Gulliver of Mars predates John Carter, so I don't know, more turn of the century. And of course, the comic book adaptation that Marvel did of Gulliver of Mars changed a little bit to make it more like John Carter. I don't know. I guess Edgar Rice Burroughs might have been aware of the Gulliver of Mars, probably. But trust me, John Carter is not a ripoff of Gulliver of Mars. But the Gulliver of Mars that's in the Marvel books is changed to be, because they wanted to do a John Carter comic. They would later do one in 1977 after Star Wars came out. Marvel finally got the rights to the Edgar Rice Burroughs characters and did a Tarzan and John Carter comic that were very well done. I'll probably be looking at these monster magazines all day. I'll do several episodes. The next episode is going to be a big episode 900 historic broadcast, but I don't know. Who cares? It's not like anyone even watches this show. Last night's show got 120 views. Oh, well. What is... Oh, Gardner F. Fox wrote this, and Dick Ayers is the illustrator. This Blood is Mine. Man, I just don't understand. You don't like these books, but I don't know. Some people just... Here's another pre-code horror story. They don't tell you where they're from. Art by Joe Maneely. When Calls the Vampire. In the color comics, they would tell you, reprinted from Strange Tales number 10 or whatever. They would always tell you. Here they don't. I don't think they really wanted people reading these magazines to fully realize that they were old stories. In Search of Dracula, the history of Dracula and vampire legends. Wondered how deep that snow is out there. It looks pretty deep. Pretty darn deep. Look, they're advertising a full-page ad for Tales of the Zombie. Look at how happy. Look at the look on this vampire here as they're getting up from the slab. These make me so happy. Oh, they're making a movie, The Fangs of Dracula. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Oh. Could it get any better? Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. You take 2 great tastes and mix them together, right? Peanut butter and chocolate. You take Mike Plug and Ernie Chua and mix them together. Ernie Chan inking Mike Plug. Story by Marv Wolfman. Well, that's the greatest name in the world, and that's his real name. Is it pronounced Wolfman or Wolfman? Probably, if your name was Wolfman, you'd probably pronounce it Wolfman. But that's such a cool name. But you do that like, Gene Wilder and Young Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein. It's not Frankenstein. It's not. I'm not. My last name is not Wolfman. But just like, oh wow. And I haven't even talked about how great Donald Trump is today, so I haven't. Probably not going to lose any viewers. Anyway, just great artwork. Fantastic. Fantastic, I tell you. Well, I'm not getting much organization done, but I'm heading down memory lane with all these wonderful Dracula books. Here's the first one I bought off the newsstand. This is my childhood copy, and it's not bagged and boarded. I need to get some magazine bags and boards. I guess I could order them from Amazon if I had money, which I don't. We're really pinching our pennies, man. We're having I don't know, I guess everyone is. Except for some of you on YouTube that are just like, oh, I just bought this $6,000 comic. It was such a steal. What a bargain. Yeah. And I've got all these comics that showed up. It's going to take me 47 episodes to show you my new haul. And I probably spent more than the cost of this hotel on. That's all right. The Boyhood of Dracula. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right to be poor. We're all poor together, right? It's Night Flight. It's. I mean, I bought all these books. I mean, I bought this book for 75 cents when I was in. Let me see. Was I in 3rd or 4th grade? I'll tell you. Dick Giordano art on that story. Oh my gosh. March 74. This would have been 3rd grade. I say, how do you remember exactly? Well, because I started 3rd grade in 73, 4th grade in 74, 5th grade in 75. It just makes it easy. Plus, we moved a lot, so I can also remember where I was at given times and stuff like that. This has Frank Springer art here. Let me look at the front and see who the artists are, because they have a whole list here. Yeah, whatever. Gene Colan, yeah. He was the regular artist in Tomb of Dracula. This is also pre-code horror. They've reprinted here. Again, we're looking at... this is, they'll do it. They won't put... Sometimes they'll put the number on the front. This is issue number... Oh, that sucks, man. You dirty rotten. They do volumes. This is volume 2, number 1. But if you look up, so I think it's issue 5. It'll tell you if you look it up on mycomicshop.com. Volumes are stupid. Stupid way of numbering. This is my childhood copy. There are spine ticks. They're my spine ticks that I put there personally in my childhood. Now, CGC says it's okay. They're continuing this Dracula adaptation with Dick Giordano. CGC says it's okay if you take a little marker and color them in. They don't mind that. I'm just kidding. In case you take me seriously, here is art by John Buscema and Pablo Marcos. Man, that snow is really blowing out there, man. Well, Ernie Chua inking Gene Colan. Colan's not the best name either. I guess it could be worse. It could be Gene Anus. But Colan... It's not Colan, it's Colan. Yeah. Embarrassing last names. Ooh, look. It's Dracula's daughter, Lilith, who was introduced in Giant Size... Was it Giant Size Dracula? Something like Giant Size something or other. I have that. That's basically was Marvel's Vampirella, was Dracula's daughter Lilith. And then they also had Satana, that was the brother of the son of Satan. So she was the daughter of Satan. And she was, I think she was what do you call him, a succubus? Yes, indeed. Oh, and then they had the deadly hands of... the deadly hands of... No, the deadly hands of Kung Fu. And then they had the Conan books, Savage Tales, Savage Sword of Conan. Marvel flooded the market with black and white magazines, trying to move Warren off the stands. Or newsstand dealers say, why do we need these Warren books? We've got all these Marvel books, and they come in the same shipment with the comic books. And, By this point, Planet of the Apes was a going thing. I was loving that. This is like a weird variant of the Spider-Man Mego, where the webs are different. The web pattern's different. Yeah, you can get Spider-Man spitting crazy foam at you or spitting water at you with that squirt gun. Yes, indeed. Planet of the Apes model kits. I had Cornelius, Zaius. Well, I have some new ones now, but the ones I had as a kid fell apart because they were snapped together. And the snapped together ones you really should just glue anyway. But did I have Zero, man? I think I had Zero. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Yeah, that sucked. Bruce Lee was one of the biggest stars, but he died before he became a big star. I mean, pretty much. Oh, see, they've finally gone back to the numbering, number 11. I don't think I have all of them, man. I think I'm missing some issues. Or am I? Or maybe they're out of order. Oh, this one I bought as a kid. That's a great cover. What is this number? Oh, this is starting to look. Hold on. John Romita is the art director in this. This is number 7. Oh, okay. It's probably better to put these in order by looking at mycomicshop.com and seeing which, because it's hard to figure out when they start doing volume 2 and stuff. Dick Giordano art. Wow, that's a lot of snow, ladies and gentlemen. Who's the artist here? George Evans, writer Mike Friedrich. Yeah, they're advertising. Yeah, and they all said crazy. A lot of black and white magazines coming out from Marvel. That's when they did the parody of Westworld. That's still in the first 10 issues. That's still one of the good issues, and that's a Kelly Frias painting on that one. So John Romita was looking over this. He was kind of the editor, making sure the art was good in it. Oh, they're just out of order. Here's number 8. I might have the complete set, actually. At least they're all together in the same box. This is number 8, which is not when I got it in my childhood. Look at the fang marks on her neck. Really nice paintings. And here's all the Marvel magazines you could get at that point. Is there anything that I forgot? Monsters Unleashed. I mentioned that. Yeah. Lawn of Horror. Monster Man. Yeah, they had a lot of them. Vampire Tales at this time had Morbius and Blade. Both of those characters had been made into movies, so I don't know if Vampire Tales is super high priced now. Oh, I remember this Alfredo Alcala ad where a lot of the characters from the Marvel black and white magazines are drawn as little kids. You got Dracula, the zombie, Conan. It's Gulliver of Mars, and man, I guess that's Lilith, or is that Satana? I think that might be Satana. Yeah. Anyway, that's Alfredo Alcala doing doing this great art. Is that Neil Adams art there? Not sure. Well, I can look at the front. This is Gene Colan with Ernie Chua, who would later become Ernie Chan, doing the ink on it. And this looks like a Warren magazine. So this, by the 70s, Warren was using a lot of European or Filipino artists, especially Spanish artists. And this looks like one of those artists that you would see in creepy, eerie Vampirella of that time period. And let's see whose name it is. It is, no, it's Tony DeZuniga, which is probably, I've always known his name. That's the first time where's Tony DeZuniga? Was he, maybe he was one of the, I don't know. I remember seeing his name all the time, and that's probably the first time in my life I've ever actually said his name out loud. I've never had any reason to say his name out loud. It's like the average person you talk about these artists with, you know. Here is number 10. Do I need the ring light yet? Because at a certain point, a lot of light behind you overwhelms you, and then you become a shadow. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? Oh, God. Okay. Boy, it's just solid white in the background, isn't it, man? This is number 10. Not my childhood copy, so I can't be blamed for this condition. Or is it my... No, it isn't my childhood copy. Oh, yeah. Lilith, Lilith Lilith looks more like that. So she's got a civilian identity. So, Dick Giordano art. Greatest gift of the year. That was actually a gift. That was my one of my Christmas presents that year. Origins of Marvel Comics. Very controversial book. Stan Lee, there he is, Uncle Stan. Probably took too much credit in that book for the creation of the Marvel superheroes, and although Stan Lee was needed in that, I mean, things wouldn't have worked without him, but yeah, he didn't create those characters, but he did a lot to give them personality. This is not a childhood copy. This is one I got at Duncanville Books. The green sticker, I don't know. I think that was they're real cheap. This one has some damage here and here. And this is Dracula tied up on Times Square, and they're about to burn him right there in Times Square. That would have been a far more interesting the other night, you know, instead of watching the ball drop, they should have just burned a vampire. But they've got the Doc Savage poster behind them, so that dates this to late 4th grade, the Ford age of comics, early 1975. Of course, and then Doc Savage was a Marvel black and white magazine. This is summer of 75, yes, so it would have been the end of the school year of 4th grade. This is a Gray Morrow cover, by the way, which is why it's so wonderful. All of these covers are wonderful. Okay. Oh, this is a super annual issue, so it's thicker. And this is a reprint. I immediately identify this page as something I showed you earlier. So this has reprints in it. I don't know, is this all reprints? Crazy Magazine did a parody of this ad, or was it a parody of the Dante ad? The world's deadliest fighting secrets can be. It was really funny, whatever it was. Dim Mak, the death touch. Yeah, everything was martial arts. I was talking about Bruce Lee. That was really a shame because he filmed Enter the Dragon and died right before it was released. And of course, it was a huge hit. I mean, a lot of people knew who he was. You know, he was in movies like The Chinese Connection, but that was more the 42nd Street crowd. I mean, people that went. It wasn't that the average person had not seen a Bruce Lee movie until Enter the Dragon, and that was like a big Hollywood production. It was like a James Bond movie, and man, that was a shame, man. Yeah, these are. It looks like this is all reprints from earlier issues of, and then this was how it ended. I had that little vampire bat as a kid. This is how Dracula Lives, The Mighty Dracula Lives, ended with this issue. Yeah, they're all reprints. How about that, Liz? So, I don't know. I was a little kid into monsters and the magazines and the Marvel horror comics of the early 70s grabbed me, and I kind of ignored the superhero comics until my mom allowed me to buy Marvel Treasury Edition #2, the big tabloid size Treasury edition of it was Fantastic Four reprints, and that's when I was first exposed to the Fantastic Four, and then I started reading all the Marvel superheroes. This cover is great. It kind of reminds me of art you'd see on the side of a van. I didn't look at how cool those vampire women are there. But the coolest thing, man, I hate to use the word iconic, is just this first issue cover. that is so great, man. I remember seeing that on a newsstand and how I was blown away. Someone was talking on Bob Beerbaum's Facebook page. They were talking about slabbing of comics, and this guy said, you know, you slab it, you're never going to be able to open it up and flip through it and experience the same feeling that someone decades, 70, 80 years ago, some little kid opened that and saw that page for the first time, and the wonder they felt seeing that page. You're never going to experience it. So, well, I can read all the comics online. I prefer my comics slabbed. No, I don't think every comic's online. And they don't have the ads. Sometimes they do the ads, but no, you're not going to get the smell. I don't even know if comic bags are good. I mean, they protect comics from getting dinged and stuff, but when you encase something in plastic, CGC style, I mean, it has no way to breathe. And a lot of these Golden Age comics that have white pages have, you know, they come into your possession. They've never been bagged or boarded, and you immediately put them in plastic. Well, they seem to have done pretty good for the last 70, 80 years without any of your, another Dracula Lives. Oh, Dracula Lives #4. Did we already look at that? Do I have 2 copies of it? Yeah, I have 2 copies of that issue. How about that? Whoa, isn't that amazing? Oh, look at this, Haunt of Horror #12. Look at this, great. That's Lilith, Dracula's daughter. I think they counted, no. I don't have all the Haunt of Horrors. Here's Haunt of Horror #2. No. Yeah, they're definitely, oh man, this is Satana here. See, they're definitely trying to make her a Vampirella character. This is a text story. Um, a lot of stuff about The Exorcist in here. And, oh, they had an Exorcist character in this comic. Yeah, because The Exorcist was such a big hit in '73. So then his name was Gabriel Devil Hunter. I don't think anyone remembers him today. So the characters in this were Satana and Gabriel Devil Hunter. And then in Dracula Lives, they had Lilith. And she was also a Vampirella clone. I don't mean to diminish her by calling her a Vampirella clone, but clearly that's what they were setting out to do. And I can imagine James Warren, publisher of Warren magazines, was not super thrilled that Marvel was doing this to him. And then there was Eerie Publications out there too, putting out these really gory, but no one ever saw them. Those were so poorly distributed, they weren't a threat to Warren. I never saw him growing up. Some kid showed up at elementary school that had bought one of them, and everyone was like, wow, where'd you get that? Well, some crummy ice house somewhere that they called, in San Antonio, they call convenience stores ice houses. This is a pre-code horror story, clearly, and the art's by Bernard Kriegsteen, also known as Bernie Kriegsteen. So, this is art by Larry Lieber and Win Mortimer. And the script's by Larry Lieber, too. This might have been right before Larry Lieber left to work on Atlas Comics. Larry Lieber was Stan Lee's brother, because Stan Lee changed his name, but his brother did not. Oh my gosh, look at this guy melted in the Gabriel Devil Hunter story. Yeah, these books are wonderful. Haunt of Horror. That was issue 3. Here's issue 4. This show's probably going to end any minute now, because that's about as much memory as my phone has to record about an hour and 8 minutes. But we'll see how much longer it goes. But if it ends soon, then it's been nice to have you. We ought to go look at the snow real quick. Another Gabriel Devil Hunter story. And then I'll come back in a few hours and do another episode, and we'll see how the snow's doing then, because the snow does not seem to be letting up. Here's another Satana story. Wow. Oh, this next one, I have a couple of copies of it. Haunt of Horror number 5. They gave shit. They gave Satana the cover. Oh my gosh, look at that. Somehow that reminds me of the beginning of the Dawn of the Dead movie. Oh, is it a baby? It's a baby that's possessed by the devil, and he turns into this goblin-looking thing. Oh my gosh, look at it crawling out of the cradle. That's a pretty sick concept. When you make babies into monsters, that's pretty sick. I mean, that's kind of beyond the pale. What was the movie? There was a vampire movie where there was a little baby that was a vampire that drank blood. Yeah. What was that movie called, man? I can't think of its name. Let's see what the snow's doing outside. it's not that cold. What's bad is the snow blowing into your face. It's, I think, about 30 degrees outside, which isn't that cold. You may think, you're insane. 30 degrees is very cold. Well, I think we've gotten acclimated to it here. It doesn't seem as cold as it used to when we lived in Texas. I don't know. So, anyway, how you doing, Drew the dog? You haven't made your appearance. And the cats, Pete and Alan. Hey, Pete and Alan, how are you guys doing? Can you see them? Well, so how are you guys doing on this wonderful, the heck, it's Tuesday, January 9th, 2023. Oh, is it time for Alex Jones yet? Let's see. It is, let's put on the Alex Jones channel. All right. Man, we're going to an hour and almost 13 minutes. I didn't think that was possible. So, if you're into the old Marvel magazines, black and white magazines, let me know down below. And if you would subscribe to this channel, man, if you made it this far, please subscribe. I think it will be cool to have 666 subscribers. Not that I'm a Christian and everything, but I just think that would be kind of funny to have 666 subscribers. And so subscribe, and maybe you'll be the 666 subscriber. Who knows? Is there any water in the refrigerator? Refrigerator. Well, I was thinking of the song Time Warp from Rocky Horror Picture Show while I was in the shower.